Hey everyone, this is a deck tech on -io Aggro. We have covered Dash Control, but now the question is, what does Dash Aggro look like? So obviously with the ability to play off the top of your deck, being able to see the top of your deck, there's some pretty interesting things, right? The first thing is the crank items, when they come in, will allow you to basically cheat out an extra action point while it's available to you. This is pretty interesting for a couple of reasons. Being able to see the top of your deck means that boosting is actually more strategic now, and it means that you can get extra action points. What that means is there are generics that you actually can consider running in Dash, because for instance, if we go boost, look at the top of the deck, we see a Boom Grenade, a Hadron Collider, something like that, right? We can drop it into the field, we can crank it, so now we have 2 action points, and then we can play a Snatch, right? And the Snatch essentially has Go again. And then for instance, on your opponent's turn, right, when you drop, you can see that there's a Snatch on top of your deck. So maybe you look at your hand and you choose just to block out, or pick a line where you're only going to set up something and pass, or maybe just play a card without boosting. But the problem I've had is that sometimes I see the top of my deck and it's a Mechanologist card. So I keep a full hand and then I boost the first time, and then the next card I reveal is a generic, and it's like, well, I just ruined the whole turn. The upside to this is that if you boost a generic and you find an item behind it with crank, you can actually play off the top as an instant and regain the action point and keep your turn going. So there is a way out to this. All this is a small payoff for Symbiosis Shot. I don't know what the exact good ratio of items you want is, but I have seen that Boom Grenade is the strongest, I would say, of the items. Hadron Collider is okay. It's mostly here because it serves a game function, because if we don't have enough items, it's too hard to play off the top. It's a decent card. Things like Data Link and Dive Through Data allow you to opt slightly downscaled versions of Zipper Hit and 0 to 60. There's a lot of these effects in the new set. I like these ones the most because I think opting is pretty important in this aggro version of Dash. Expedite is here because it's the same stat line, allows you for some nice consistency with boosting, but occasionally it does have the ability to drop something into play, which is pretty nice. Doesn't require action point to get in the field. And if it's a card with crank, then you actually get 2 action points, which is what we like to see, right? Heist is really good, allows you to banish something like Boom Grenade off at the top, but if Heist hits, you threaten to put into play, which would also give you 2 action points. So you're kind of seeing where this deck is going. You know, Expedite on a 1-for-4. Pulse Wave Harpoon has been historically probably one of the best cards in Mech. No reason not to run it here. Snatch could be any other generics, right? You could decide that you want to run E-Strike, for example, because E-Strike draw a card is pretty good, especially if you see what the top of your deck is. So it could be that you like E-Strike instead. I think Snatch is a pretty solid card. 0-for-4 stat line is good into aggro. Being able to cheat an action point on it threatens to draw a card, which is really good. And so, you know, you can just keep your turn going. T-Bones are here for consistent boosting. Marginal upsides, sometimes you can spike equipment, but don't really count on them for that. 0 to 60 and Zipper Hit are, you know, the staples. It's pretty nice that with the new set we don't have to run the yellows anymore, at least not for me currently, just because Data Link, right, is a 0 to 60 yellow, but actually has a relevant on hit. Same goes for Expedite. Spark of Genius, not going anywhere. Card is really good. Wanted Tome of Fiendal. I was on 3, but I just felt like there were too many generics and I was bricking a little bit too much, and also there's not that many items, so it is kind of difficult to always be abusing Tome. But being able to get 2 action points and play a Tome from Arsenal is absolutely insane. I would give it a shot, at least as a 1-of, and see if you want to go up or go, you know, down from there, or just stay the same. Tekla Core, very good staple. You can play it off the top of -io, and also can get fetched to Spark of Genius for 0. Throttle is just here, as always. We have cut yellow and red throttle. Don't know if I'll bring it back. Maybe it's meta consideration if you need more poppers, or if you want to boost the less but go taller, you could bring it back. Currently, I'm not on it. It would be a meta consideration for Dromai as well. Going into the sideboard, kind of interesting. So we have High Octane. I think High Octane always needs to go into 60. I haven't figured out exactly what 3 cards I'm going to cut for it yet, but I would find 3 cards to always cut for High Octane. Even with only 12 items, your Symbiosis Shot is going to stack counters a lot. And while you can cheat 2 action points off something like a Boom Grenade and shoot twice in a turn, you're going to bank counters. So maybe not 3 High Octanes, but you need to find a slot for these in the main board. So just based on your matchup, figure out what card you think is a little bit low impact. I probably wouldn't touch the item ratios, but I think that High Octane is very strong. Maximum Velocity is for longer setup decks where you really need to push over for lethal. So this would be defensive style decks, you know, like Assassins, Guardians, Control, Dromai, things like that. Penetration Strip is kind of interesting. I don't really know how strong the card is. I think it can be quite good if you have the appropriate setup for it, and if you're able to get it off the top. This is only a card I think I would run into slow matchups. If you're playing this into an aggro deck, I think it just doesn't give you enough time to set it up appropriately. So if you're against a deck where you're going to be able to arsenal consistently, if you're going to be able to get 5-card hands, so same use cases where maximum velocity would come in, I think penetration script is really good. So you'd bring that in against slow fatigue style matchups. It's just an anthem effect to your attacks, but you need enough attacks over enough turns for it to be worth it versus playing into aggro where you just need to dump 4 cards every turn or block with 2 cards and send 2 cards. Penetration script does not work with that style of gameplay. So I don't think it really is very good in those kinds of shells. It could be that some people just want to run it anyway, and that's perfectly fine, but I think that this is only a niche case used for the sideboard, but I still think it's a very good card for what it does. Specifically with Steam Canister, this allows you to play the Steam Canister off the top of your deck at some point or as your action for the turn, something like that. Which then means when you get penetration script out, you can then cash in your Steam Canister and keep it around for more than 1 turn, right? And so that's pretty big. Being able to keep this out for maybe 2 turns, if you can find another Steam Canister 3, then all of a sudden the penetration script is actually probably going to be enough just to push through the defensive deck. These two together, you would just swap out one of your blues for it and then find a slot for it in your main board. Signal Jammer obviously goes in against Kano, can also go in against something like Azalea, doesn't let her play more than 1 non-attack pump for her turn. I think those are probably only the use cases I can think of, but I still think that those are enough of a meta consideration, and I don't have any other uses for this sideboard slot. If you have something better for your meta, feel free to tech for it, but I think that this is just an example of a particular meta-dependent item that you could run in the deck, so this is just mine for my list. We have Goliath Gauntlet for aggro matchups where you need to race harder. Adaptive Plating is here as a way to cash in something like a Boom Grenade that's going to go off at the start of your next turn. So maybe play the Boom Grenade, your opponent denies it, it's going to expire at the start of your next turn. You can then use your arm slot and break it, and then you're able to block for 3, which is better value than Goliath Gauntlet. This is good against some styles of decks that play on hits, or maybe when you're forced to go first, something like that. But if you're going second and you want to race, or if you're in a game plan where you need to use maximum velocity, then I think Goliath Gauntlet probably is better on the whole, but it's really up to your discretion which one you like more. But Adaptive Plating does have the potential to be either a 1 block or a 3 block if you're able to cash in an item that's going to die, which I think is pretty good. I think it's probably better in Max, but Dash.io still has use case for it. Visiotron Mile Eye is just here for AB. That's all it's here for. And that is the deck. So your game plan is to boost aggressively, to cheat in things like Boom Grenade off the top of your deck, using Dash's ability to cheat extra action points to fire a Symbiosis shot. And then that also allows you to have combat tricks, and extra action points allow you to boost and miss, or allow you to play things like Snatch, Tome, E-Strike, any other generics you would like to run. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think. We'll see what this list evolves into. But until next time, thank you for watching.